Hey boys. Say hello. Well, it's Saturday, March 14th, I think. Yeah, so I've been out here doing yard work, cutting grass. It just exploded after the rain and our 80-degree days. And apparently next week, we've had some nights in the 30s. A couple of days it's supposed to get into the 20s. And then we're supposed to shoot back up to like the high 80s and 90s by next weekend. So next weekend might be a good day to start playing around with maybe making some more bees. But I'll show you what I'm doing here in my yard. I actually got to count because I never can remember. So it looks like I overwintered 11 hives. I consolidated a few down in the fall before I tucked them away for the winter. I think I got up to almost 20, but then, selecting the genetics of the ones I wanted to keep and pinching every queens and all that. So I haven't lost any this winter. So it looks like I took in 11, came out with 11. I put feeder jars on them for the first time yesterday. Gave them some real light syrups because they've actually been bringing in nectar and capping some light honey down in the storage areas. I actually don't have any real supers on them yet, so I'm not worried about it getting mixed. But I basically put that in there to see, if they had a good enough sources coming in that they would want some feed, or if not. I put an empty medium in all of them, empty frames with no comb to let them start drawing those out, so they can use a little bit of that towards that. Came back here. Show you. So this used to be my garden, a big long garden where I would grow all kinds of stuff, and it's slowly over the last few years been taken over by bees. It hasn't been a garden, and I need to put a lot more bees in this year. I'm putting in a couple of defender hives for some queen mating, some multiple of the 7-frame apimays to split into 3-frame nukes on each side of it. So I need to get some more room. I've got a bunch more equipment in the shed and out front that needs to come back here. So I'm kind of figuring out, I like having rows like this so I can walk behind and work bees and not have them all running into me completely. Thinking about pulling out one of those last garden beds in the cattle panel and putting another strips of hives right here. And maybe putting up some T-posts with some fabric cloth, something as a divider that air can move through to break the bees and make them go up and over so they're not all just constantly running into my back while I'm working hives over here. And then I'll have room behind to work them over there. And I may put another layer of that on that fence line too, just as a windbreak. And since it's close to the fence, to keep my neighbors and loose neighbor dogs and whatever away from the fence, away from the bees' paths. Kind of show you what the bees are doing right now. Got the boys out here helping me, Lucky and Luke. They are bringing in nectar, tons of pollen. They were really going at it crazy earlier. Then I came out and put on my bee jacket and all and started pushing the mower down the front of them and disturbing them, and they weren't too happy about that. I'll kind of show you. So a couple of these I didn't put an extra medium on. They just weren't quite big enough to where I felt comfortable doing it. They weren't going through fondant and feed, and they were as fast, so I left them alone. Everything you see is 3 boxes. There's actually an empty medium on top. I didn't break the brood nest up, but I put it on top with fondant above them so they could work it if they needed the room. Come along, let's see what's going on. Only got a few minutes of storage space on my phone left, so I'm going to make this pretty quick. Ooh, there's a bee off my face. Getting in their paths. See, some of them are really going at it over there. The Nell, I put an empty medium on top and an empty deep in the middle because they were drawing out so fast. Had so many bees, they needed room to expand, or I'd have to worry about swarming too early. There's those. There's some frames that had honey that I threw out to let the bees clean them out. The moths eat them up. There are those 2. Here's all this extra space. So there's the old wood frame for my garden bed I'm going to rip out. And I'll probably take these bees and move them. Use this over here for my queen production more. Setting up all those defenders and Apimay 7-framers. Kind of give you a downward shot. So this whole thing is going to turn into one big old filled up bee yard and probably never see another piece of produce again. So that's what I'm working on right now. About to run out of time, so I'll let you guys see how the progress goes later.